皆さんこんにちは and welcome to Shogo's podcast. So today, guys, I'd like to talk about something that is, I'll try my best to explain as much as possible, but it is something that's really difficult to explain with words, though. I'll try my best. It's about basically Japanese people who are really dedicated in the world of traditional culture and their difficulties of trying to spread it overseas, their skills or the traditional culture overseas. And it's something that I often see a lot. So it's really difficult to try to explain what today's conclusion is, but basically I want to talk, I guess the conclusion of it is that a lot of Japanese people who work in the world of traditional culture believe that if they can speak English, they would have the skills to spread the culture to foreign countries outside of Japan, but that is a complete misunderstanding. So, like a lot of people would say, for example, Japanese people would say, taking a look at my channel, they'd be like, "Oh, I envy you so much. You can speak English, and that's the reason why you get to, talk to so many people." Outside of Japan, the audience outside of Japan about Japanese traditional culture. That's so great. I envy you and admire you so much. But this is something that expresses how much Japanese people really don't understand other cultures, or really don't see how much more complicated and difficult it is to try to explain history or culture to someone who doesn't know anything about your country. It's not that simple. Just being able to speak a language doesn't make you a professional in communication or teaching and stuff like that, right? So it's a completely different power. And one thing that I've noticed recently, this is, I guess, the main part I want to share with you today, is that the biggest border, I guess, maybe could be English. But I think that the second biggest border obstacle that gets in the way when people who are called masters, when they want to try to teach their skills or what they know, their experiences, for example, it could be anything Budo martial arts, it could be tea ceremony, dancing, or instruments and such. When they want to teach these things to people from overseas, there's a lot of cultural differences that kind of block the way there. Yeah. Language is just like the very first obvious skill that you need to be able to communicate in the first place. There's much more difficult things. And I felt this, again, especially when I was talking with my tea ceremony sensei the other day. This is a time when I felt this especially. She was talking about her experience of having a friend who she had a friend who had a friend from overseas coming over to Japan, and she wanted to experience Japanese traditional dancing. And because my tea ceremony sensei doesn't know any Japanese traditional dancing sensei that she can introduce, she said, "I'm really sorry, I can't help out." But in the end, she found out that her friend's friend, who came from overseas, basically went to this very cultural experience facility kind of place that I guess for my tea ceremony sensei, she thought is not that authentic. And basically, the friend's friend wore a yukata and held onto an umbrella and took some photos, and that was it. And my tea ceremony sensei was saying that it's really difficult first of all, a lot of people from overseas would first of all start from talking about money. Like, for example, how much is these lessons going to cost? Or how much will I benefit from you? These kind of things, And otherwise, I think this is something that happens to a lot of people, too, who are considered masters or, instructor levels. But, for example, like the cultural activities that I used to run, the one-time experience, of the Iaido or Budo martial arts and stuff like that, a lot of people see us as just, sending out cheap culture, non-authentic stuff to people who are coming from overseas, and this is their image. They really look down on us. So these are the biggest obstacles that a lot of people, especially the elderly master class people, so-called master class people, have when they try to spread Japanese traditional culture. They have all of these cultural norms, inside their head. Like, it's not polite to talk about money on day one, for example. It's again, I made a video in the past talking about that. One of the really biggest taboos in Japan is to talk about money because money is considered, something bad to talk about. Especially that comes from the Edo period when samurai were kept poor, so they won't start rebellions against the shogun of the samurai government. So they made a rule that talking about money is something vulgar, so they can keep the top class people in their place. That kind of stuff. So a lot of those, my tea ceremony sensei, those kind of people in that generation, their 60s, 70s, who are considered to be the top ranked sensei today, they first of all feel a lot of resistance towards that. So, but it's obvious that you need to talk about these things, right? It's something that you can't completely avoid when you want to learn something. You do need to talk about how much class lessons cost, what kind of things you get to learn from that sensei. It's something that you need to talk about. But basically, just trying to earn the advantages or benefits or that kind of stuff in the very beginning is through Japanese communication. Especially the old style communication. It's not something that you're supposed to talk from the beginning and stuff like that. But that, to be honest, I personally feel is really inefficient. And that's not the way. Even in Japan. The young people in Japan today, that's not the way we work, And that's definitely something that we absolutely need to change. Because I really feel that when I work with, or train under, I should say, the younger senseis. For example, Yamada sensei, my no theater sensei, is just 5 years older than me. My Yushinkan, which is my second Ryuhai Niyai, the Kancho, which is my sensei, the top instructor of that Ryuha, he is just 3 years older than me. And also my Shakuhachi sensei is just 6 years older than me. These people are really, our generation is really close. They're in their early 30s, right? So they are like, well, yeah, traditional culture, yeah, that's great. I mean, a lot of people, especially who are older than us, like 1 or 2 generations older than us, they tend to think that I'm trading traditional culture, I'm an important person kind of thing. But no, traditional culture in Japan today is just like any other, thing that you can learn. Like it could be any sports or any instruments, It's on the same table, basically. And it's nothing more important than anything else. Just because that might have a long history doesn't mean that it's more important or should be more admired or should be treated better, So my sensei, these 3 sensei, for example, would immediately start from talking about the money, how much lessons are going to be costing, how much you'll be able to learn. In this amount of time, you'll be able to obtain this much, skills and such. And they're much more, what should I say, flexible to these things, But at the same time, of course, there are young people too who aren't flexible to these ideas as well. So it's not everyone. But I really feel the generation gap, especially because my tea ceremony sensei is much older than my other sensei, the 3 sensei I just mentioned. So I really feel that one of the biggest reasons why we are so struggling, having a hard time to try to preserve traditional culture and leave it to the next generation, also spread it to other countries, isn't just English. Not having English is a big problem, obviously, but that's not the main problem, though. These small, what should I say, cultural differences that no one explains with words, because no one can explain that, in Japan we don't say these things on our first, day we meet with the sensei, or, that's not something you would do in front of your superiors. These kind of things that no one actually teaches you with words, or verbally, basically, but it's there kind of thing. And the biggest problem is not English, it's not communication. It's that the senseis, the masters, those people expect other people or the new students to know these things unconditionally. Again, even the young people in Japan don't know about these things because it's just really, what should I say? There's no logic behind it. No one explains it to you. How would you ever know that these things are inappropriate? No one teaches you. It's something that was in the past maybe obvious. Obvious maybe in the past when the master generations, when they were younger and they were back in our generations, like in their 20s or 30s, maybe it was really obvious back at that time. It's something that you would learn from a really young age and such, but we don't do that anymore, right, in our generations. So it's impossible for the instructors, the masterclass people, to expect that especially people from overseas. It's impossible to know that, but they can't just accept it. They get really frustrated. I've seen it before so many times, but that's what is your job? I mean, what's your purpose? Isn't it to spread the culture that you love? In that case, you need to change. You need to adapt to the new generation. Of course, there are things, our core messages from our ancestors that needs to be carried down. I completely understand that. But fitting into modern society, like, talking about the money or how many lessons you do a week or, these kind of important things, everyone is really busy. We have jobs, we have some people have side businesses, we have kids to raise, and what should I say? Our lifestyles are completely different from the past. The economy has changed, society has changed. The social norms are different, right? So that means we need to adapt to the younger generations, and that's really important, And I completely understand that, trying to change yourself from all the things that you thought was normal, changing and adapting into it, especially when you're called a master every single day. You're having to change how you think or take actions due to the people who don't know anything about the art. I can kind of understand it's really frustrating, but if you want to carry on the culture, that's something you must do. And this story today, again, it's really complicated. I'm pretty sure what I'm saying is going all over the place, and I really hope you understand what I'm trying to say because my explanation is terrible, but it's something that I really feel that I need to remember. Because eventually, if I continue down this road, I will become an instructor in their 50s, 60s, 70s, called a Grandmaster Yamaguchi Sensei or whatever it is, but I must not forget this. I must not forget that the next generation will always have a different common sense, different values, and we need to constantly change. I need to remember in my head, no matter how much I gain more experience, I gain new students, I became more famous and such, it doesn't matter. I need to always be super humble and open-minded to change. Absolutely. I need to listen to the opinions of the young people in my class or in my dojo if I ever have one in the future. I need to listen to them and constantly think what are the things we should not change and what are the things that we should change. And as I talked about in my previous podcast the other day, I personally believe that about 80% of any Japanese social culture should change. The core parts that don't have to change or we must leave exactly as the same as our ancestors have done for us is less than 20%, maybe even around 10%. Everything else needs to change to suit this modern world. And that is the only way for Japanese social culture to live on to future generations so they can enjoy it too. So then everyone, as I always say, the ultimate goal of my life is to make all Japan lovers' dreams come true. So I know there's a lot of people studying Japanese, willing to come to Japan to study, travel, or work. Got stuck there. And even traditional culture and such, as we were talking about today, right? But I am very afraid that Japan will not be able to make everyone's dreams come true in the future because we're facing a lot of social problems. We are losing our traditional culture, and the younger generations who are supposed to be carrying on the good things about Japan are dying because of all the social issues being shoved against them. So I really want to dedicate my life trying to make Japan a better place. I want to try to solve the social problems, preserve and evolve traditional culture, and also help out the younger generations so they can have a better future. And to do this, the nearest goal I have right now is to achieve 2 million subscribers by January 2023 on my main channel. So your likes and comments help to boost our videos to new viewers who have never seen our channel before, so it'd be great if you can help us out. Alright, thank you so much guys. Today's topic was one of the most difficult ones I've ever talked about. I really hope there aren't any misunderstandings and such, but it's something that I really seriously think about every single day, because this is my dream. This is what I want to dedicate my life to. So yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated if I experience anything else in the future. And again, thank you so much for listening to today's podcast too. Bye-bye.